Welcome to Debbie's Rusty Brush. I'm Debbie Straight. I am the owner and artist here. And today what we're going to do is another one of our little 6 by 6 by 1/2 inch paintings. We're going to do a cute little bird scene in a tree with a nest. They're going to be guarding their nest. I have a reason for doing this. I have a booth that I sell in, and I'm going to be doing a country hutch, and I have a sign that says Our Nest, and I want to display this little piece of art in a vignette on that country hutch. I think it will just be darling. So without further ado, let's jump into this painting, and I'm going to speed it up like normal so you don't have to watch for a really long time, the entire time it took me to do this painting, but I will do a voiceover for you so you know what I'm doing each step of the way. All right, let's get going. Okay guys, so what I'm doing here with my palette knife is I'm just going through and I am adding in Prom Queen, which is a very light blue from DIY paint, and I'm mixing that with White Swan because I don't want as blue as the blue is. I want it to be pretty light. So I'm just mixing that on the canvas with my palette knife. Now, as you can tell, I did draw my birds on here and my whole little scene on here. But as I am putting in this background, I am going through much of what I drew on. When I draw these on, it just gives me an idea of scale and balance and where I want things. But I want to make sure that I have a full coverage on my painting, so I don't worry about going over some of my drawing. I can recreate that, but I have an idea of my scale and my composition. Now with this, I am going to go ahead and do around all sides because we do want to make sure that this is not going to be framed. We want to make sure that it is fully painted. And so these make perfect little shelf sitters, but they can be hung in a wall in a composition. So we want to make sure that not only are our sides painted, but that we carry our image around to the sides as well, so that it looks good from all angles. And it is so much easier just to do this by moving the canvas around and getting all of those sides covered. And then what we're going to do is I have got Farm Fresh, and it is kind of a bluish green color, and I'm going to go in and just put some here and there. I want it to be like leaves, but in the background. So I don't want any detail to these. And as I've said, I do abstract impressionistic, so the detail is always going to be a little bit abstract or impressionistic, but I do want just the shadow in there of where leaves might be. And now I'm going in with, oh, what is this one called? Monet's Garden, and it is a true dark green color, and I'm just going in, I'm putting a little on the tip of my palette knife, and I am just blotting it here and there throughout where the leaves would be. And now I'm going in with Fancy Farm Girl and doing the same thing, just adding in a different color of leaf. Because with the wind blowing, you're going to see the backs of some leaves and the fronts of other leaves. And so I just want a combination of colors in here through my tree. Okay, and so now we're going to go in and put in the trunk and our limbs, and I am using Layered Chocolate. Now all of these are DIY paints from Debbie's Design Diary. They're a clay-based chalk paint. I really enjoy doing these paintings with this because the clay gives really good texture. I don't typically have heavy-bodied acrylic around, which also will give good texture, but I do quite a bit of furniture, and so I do have the chalk paint around, and this clay-based paint I really enjoy doing these palette knife paintings with. Now, as you can see, I'm going ahead and bringing the limbs around the side of the tree, or the side of the canvas, and I'm just going with my layered chocolate and putting in limbs. Now, you can tell that I am not necessarily getting full coverage on each limb line that goes through. And I'm not worried about that because leaves would block some of the limbs. So that is not a big deal to me that they're not going all the way through. It just makes it look more realistic and organic. Now I'm going in with some Prairie Gray, which is really a very kind of muddy color. It's more in the taupes and browns than in the gray. And so I really like it for when I am doing trees. I like to be able to have the contrast between the darker and the lighter color. And so I'm just going to go back and forth here between the layered chocolate and the Prairie Gray, and then I'm also going to be adding in faded burlap, which interestingly enough, if you take faded burlap and layered chocolate, it will mix into be Prairie Gray if you get the right mixture. So it's just in the same shades as what we have going on, and so it just lends itself really well to highlights, and with the layered chocolate low lights and the Prairie Gray in there, they all just work well together and give some definition to the tree bark. Now I am going to run my tree all the way down. If this is a shelf sitter, this wouldn't matter, but if somebody decided to hang it on a wall, you do want to finish that underside. And so I just carried my trunk on over the edge of that canvas. Okay, so now what I have is a custom mix color, and this is a combination of DIY clay-based paint as well as Dixie Belle mineral paint. And so this is Fancy Farm Girl, but it's got some daisy in it from Dixie Belle, and it's got some fluff in it from Dixie Belle, and it's got just a little teeny bit of Bohemian Blue from DIY. And it's just a lighter color than Fancy Farm Girl. And so I'm using it as my highlight color, and I'm going in, I saved it for this step on the tree because I do want to hide some of those limbs that are going through. I want to make them look realistic, like there's leaves and things flowing, and so I wanted to save this color to do last. Now I'm going in and just kind of putting a knot in the bark here, like there was a limb that may have been cut off, and so I just want to give a little bit more detail in the bark of this tree. And so just play with it until you have what you like. And again, it's just impressionistic. So now I am going in with the Prairie Gray, and I'm just making sure that I have a coverage coat on our nest. I will be adding more detail over the top, but I do want to make sure that this is fully covered. And now I'm going to dry it just a little bit because when I go to put these other details on, it needed to be firmed up a little bit. And as you can tell, as it dries, the colors lighten up. When I clear coat it, those colors will come back. Now I'm adding in a little bit of cake batter. I just want the impression of some sunshine coming into the tree here. So I'm adding in a little cake batter, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of the mixture of Prom Queen and White Swan, and just mellow that out a little bit. So you'll have the glow in there, but it won't be really in your face. Now I am taking my putty knife and I am going in with some faded burlap and just making some lines. And now I've got cake batter, and then we're going to use queen bee. And I'm just making lines so it looks like straw and twigs and things that the birds would use to make their nests. And here later I will put some faded or some layered chocolate in there. Now we're switching over to a small round brush, and I decided to do the birds themselves with a brush because they're just kind of small on this 6x6, and so in order to get the shapes and things that I want, I chose to swap over and use a brush on this. Now I am going in, this is a custom color, it's White Swan and Little Black Dress, and I have mixed this up. I needed a gray, so I mixed this up ahead of time, and so I'm just using what I've got. And so I am going in and doing white to just cover the canvas here, because I want to make sure that we do have full coverage. So even though it looked white before, it was bare canvas, and we want to have some paint there. Okay, so now we're just going to add the beaks, and on these little birds, the beaks are black. And so we're going to get those in here. And now I'm taking and just solidifying the lines of our birds with the gray and getting those good and crisp. And then I'm going in with a little bit of Cowgirl Coral and a little bit of Liquid Sunshine and just blending that through the breast area because I wanted it to have a little more dimension than just white. And so we're blending in a little warmth, a little color into the breasts of our birds. And I'm doing a little bit more line work with our tails, getting them just the way I want them. And now I am going in with French Millinery, which is it's a lavendery gray. And so it just adds a little bit of a pop to the rest of our gray where it looks like there is some dimension in the feathers. And so it's not a lot, but it does add just a little bit. And so I thought we wanted to put that in. And I don't know what these are called up here on top of the birds. I call them a comb. I don't really know what that's called on these birds. So if you know, drop a comment down below. All right, and so now I'm going to just add a little bit of white up there into the comb to give it a little dimension. And then we are going to blend a little more on the breast of our birds. And then we're going to take Little Black Dress and add in some eyes. All right, so there's our eyes. And then we're going to go back in with the gray color I had, and we're just going to put a little bit of a highlight on top of our beaks. And now we're going to take and add some more twigs into our nest because we want to have some of those twigs coming out over the birds that are sitting kind of off to the side or behind. And when birds build nests, they're ingenious little things, but they aren't always neat. And so you will have twigs coming here and there. So, and we're adding a little bit of darker color in with that layered chocolate and going back in with some of the yellow so that it looks like straw. And then we're going to just dry it a little bit because we want to go back in with some of our Fancy Farm Girl and add some leaves back in here. And then we'll go back in with the custom color that I made for our highlight color. And so we're just adding some more leaves. We want it to come up over the nest, down over the birds. We just want to ground our sweet little birds and our nest into our painting and make sure that it's all very cohesive and everything is grounded. And then, of course, our last step will be signing. All right, guys, that is our painting. So today what I would like for each of you to do is to share this with a friend that you think would enjoy watching this painting being done. Subscribe to my channel, hit that little bell notification so you get notified anytime I upload a video. I really appreciate any support that I get. If you could leave a comment, thumbs up, all of those interactions help to play with the algorithms of YouTube and to get my content out there so my channel will grow. If you guys have anything that you would like to see me paint, give me a shout out. I'll give it a try. I don't know that I will be able to do it, and I will definitely do it more my style. So if you're after realism, not what you're gonna get from me. I do more of the abstract impressionistic type work, but I will definitely give it a shot in my style. I promise I will upload the video whether it is a fail or whether it works out. And so that gives you guys some comedic relief, because there are a lot of things that I try that it's just like, oh man, but I'll give it a shot for you. All right, so again, subscribe to my channel, throw in a comment, share with your friends, and we will see you again next week. All right, thanks for hanging out with me. Bye-bye.